Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another social emotional workshop. We are here with Henry Ford Health Systems, Lisa Kaplan, and today we are going to be talking about vaping. Lisa, we're so glad to have you back.
Okay, thank you for inviting me back. So today we're going to be talking about vaping. What I want to share with you is a program that is a joint effort between the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition, West Bloomfield Youth Assistance, the West Bloomfield School District, the West Bloomfield Police Department, and Henry Ford Health Systems Maple Grove Center, where I work. So what we did was students who got caught vaping in West Bloomfield School District, and we've also opened this up to the Farmington School District, those students would be suspended, and that would go on their transcript. So when in the future they were looking for scholarships for college or maybe to join the military, these infractions would be on their permanent record. So what the principals wanted to do instead was do some type of educational program so that if a student got caught one time, the student and one parent would have to come on a Saturday morning to a one-time presentation. And if they attended, then there would be no suspension and it would not be on their permanent record. So we created this program along with our partners. So I'm going to share our program with you. So we're going to talk about tobacco, vaping, and e-cigarettes, addiction and treatment options, health and legal consequences, and refusal strategies. So everybody's heard the term vaping. I don't know if you've heard the term ENDS, E-N-D-S. It's electronic nicotine delivery system. So anything that can be used to vape is an electronic nicotine delivery system. It could be an e-cig, it could be vape pens, vaporizers, disposable vapes, e-hookahs. You may have heard those terms before. And people incorrectly believe that this is safe and healthy because it produces a harmless water vapor. But the truth is, as you're going to see, it's not harmless at all. Also, all of these devices that we talk about can be used to consume cannabis, which is marijuana. And keep in mind that every day things are changing. You're going to hear about new products. You're going to hear about different laws. The terminology is going to change. The flavorings are going to change. So what's true today may not be true next week. So these are pictures of some of these devices. They look like anything from a cigarette, a pen. They look like magic markers, thumb drives. So what can happen is many of these are very small and they can be held in the palm of a hand. So a student could, in a classroom, smoke, and because it's odorless, I don't mean smoke, I mean vape, but because it's odorless, the teacher can't detect it. So the students that you are all working with could be doing this at home in their bedroom or even in their family room with the parent nearby, and it may not always be detected. So every system is a little bit different, but this is a general description of how it works. There's a cartridge or reservoir that holds a liquid, which is the flavoring. There's a heating element, a power source, and a mouthpiece. So they're all a little different, but this is the general idea. So some of you may have heard about the brand name Juul. Juul was the #1 seller to teens or user of teens prior to the pandemic. So 1 to 2 pack of cigarettes, which is about 20 to 40 cigarettes, is equal to 1 Juul pod. The Juul pod is very, very small, but it's pretty powerful. So so when someone says, oh, I'm only using 1 Juul pod, it's the same as smoking 1 to 2 packs of cigarettes. So in these products is nicotine, and nicotine can harm the developing brain. because as you all know, the brain is not fully developed until the age of 25. So anybody who starts using any type of substance, alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, or any other drug, is actually harming their brain and priming their brain for addiction as they grow. They're also creating mental health problems like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, ADD, eating disorders. It's impacting a teen intellectually and emotionally. So many of you remember Philip Morris, that the name of that company. They were the #1 seller of tobacco products, and they want teens to be smoking because 3 out of 14 nicotine smokers will smoke as adults. So these are future customers for them. Another way of making money in the future. So what is in the aerosol? Okay, what do people breathe in? These terms most of us have never heard of. Have you ever heard of volatile organic compounds or ultrafine particles? What does that mean? But it's got nicotine, cancer-causing chemicals, heavy metals, and flavorings, such as diacetyl, which we're going to talk about in a little while. So you don't really know what's in them. They don't list every ingredient. And anytime it says 0% nicotine, it is not true. There's always nicotine in these products, which is why people keep coming back for more, because nicotine is addictive, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. So what's in the juice? So you'll see little containers like this, different flavors, different brands, different colors, different juices. And it's not juice like the kind of juice we drink, which sounds pretty healthy. This is what's in the juice. So we explained to kids that formaldehyde is used to embalm dead bodies. Acetone is in nail polish remover. But look at these different products that they can put into these flavorings. And this is what people are putting into their body. So then what we do is we give the teens and their parents a piece of paper that says agree and another one that says disagree. And we read the following statement and they hold up which one they agree or whether they agree or disagree. Of course, they're not graded on it. It's just for educational purposes. So ask yourself, do you agree or disagree that e-cigarettes are safe? And of course, the answer is disagree. Because there is no such thing as a safe tobacco cigarette. Some people believe that vaping is safer than smoking traditional cigarettes, but that doesn't mean it's safe because the aerosols are not harmless. It's not just water vapor. It contains all those chemicals that we just looked at and more, and many of these can lead to cancer. Okay, what do you think about this? Do you agree or disagree that there have been no long-term studies on e-cigarettes? So if you said you agree, that is correct. Because they haven't been around that long. They've only been around for about 15 years. They were developed in China. So there's incomplete research there. It's still ongoing. The long-term effects are unknown. So many of you remember that back in the day, they used to think smoking cigarettes was healthy. My dad would always say that his doctor would be smoking in the office while he examined him. Okay, they didn't know that it wasn't healthy. It took about 20 years to figure that out. So today's younger generation of people who are vaping are like guinea pigs. The research isn't being done yet. It's actually being done on them. So ask yourself if e-cigarettes are approved by the US Food and Drug Administration as a quit tobacco device. So this, it has a mixed answer. Generally, no, it is not. However, just recently, there's 2 brands that have been approved by the FDA as a quit tobacco device. but other brands are marketing themselves as such, and they should not be. However, they are, and they're getting away with it. Okay, ask yourself, nicotine is a drug that is not addictive, and we remind them that addictive means something that is so enjoyable that you want to do it or have it as often as possible. And of course, the answer is disagree. I will tell you, in working with heroin addicts, that they will tell you that nicotine is harder to quit. Nicotine is harder to quit than heroin. I have heard this enough times for enough years that I believe it is true. Nicotine is the most addictive drug there is. So what happens when nicotine is used in the body? Well, when you smoke it, it's absorbed through the linings of the nose and the mouth. And as you inhale, it passes through the lung membranes and into the bloodstream. And after the bloodstream, it makes its way to your heart, where then it goes to your arteries and up to your brain. And that takes about 10 to 20 seconds. And once it hits the brain, it stimulates the neurotransmitters of adrenaline and dopamine, which are feel-good chemicals. And then it's metabolized by the liver and filtered through the kidneys when we go to the bathroom. So what nicotine does is it activates the brain's reward circuits, and it releases a feel-good chemical. And because it feels good, it motivates the person to continue doing this behavior, even though they may know there are health risks. Okay, agree or disagree? Vaping nicotine as a teenager will not affect your brain. And of course, the answer is agree, because again, brains are not fully developed until the age of 25. So teenagers, it causes changes in the brain that are lifelong, and it is more likely to create an addiction as they age. So this agrees that there's more addiction, that it's more addictive than heroin, cocaine, or alcohol. There's very, very high level of nicotine in e-cigarettes, more than regular cigarettes. So when you hear that it's safer or it helps you to quit, it's actually the opposite. So the last part of the brain to develop is the prefrontal cortex, which handles things like attention, decision-making, impulse control, judgment, planning. So it is certainly challenging a brain as the brain is developing. So here we have a video that is teen friendly about the brain. And if we can't get it playing, don't worry, I will tell you what it's about.
Okay, it's not playing.
Okay, so what it is, it compares the teen developing brain with a computer keyboard, where if it develops properly, all the pieces fall into place the way they belong. But if it doesn't, it's all scrambled up and messed up. So it doesn't work. The system doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So the good news is that teens have some control over their brain development. If you eat right, sleep well, do everything that you need to do to keep your body and your brain healthy, then you are more likely to have your brain develop properly. And if you stay away from alcohol and other drugs, including nicotine, then again, your brain has an opportunity to develop properly. So that's essentially what that video shows.
Really? Thank you.
So this is really sad. We appeal to kids because many kids like dogs or have dogs. So read this to yourself. Well, I don't know if you can all see it as big as I can, so I'll read it. I know that most of us have dogs. This is posted on Facebook. I know that most of us have dogs and other pets, and I wanted to post this to help save lives with pets, so people are aware of the dangers of vaping equipment and pets. I just lost my St. Bernard puppy yesterday. She had eaten a Jewel pod and chewed a bottle of vape juice. I didn't even know we had these items in the house. My 17-year-old snuck them in and attempted to hide them under the couch. Molly presented Friday night with a staggered gait and weakness. We rushed her to the vet on the way, developed problems breathing. When we arrived, the seizure started. A few hours later at the vet, she went into cardiac failure. While searching my home to find out any possible things she could have gotten, I found the chewed items that I know were not there the day before. There is no antidote for this stuff, only supported treatment. It's extremely toxic, even in small amounts. Plus, the flavors often attract pets to it. My pup was only 12 weeks old. I hope in her untimely death, her story can create awareness on the dangers of this stuff. I have made this shareable, so please feel free to do so. So not only pets, but also young children in the home are not aware that this could be dangerous. So here's some common myths. You're going to hear people say about the juice, it's just flavoring, okay? But the flavors come from chemicals, okay? Eating it is different than inhaling it into your lungs, okay? My vape says it's nicotine free. There's no way I'll become addicted. They are marketed that way, but they are never nicotine free. And nicotine isn't that bad for me. Of course, we learned that it is because of brain development and the risk of addiction. It's just water vapor, but it isn't, because we talked about all of those chemicals that are in there. I don't have an addictive personality. I won't get hooked on vapes. So it doesn't matter if a person thinks they have an addictive personality or not. The power of the drug nicotine is so strong that it can impact anybody within 10 seconds. And all of us are at risk of addiction, even if we don't have an addictive personality. And just because I vape doesn't mean I'm going to smoke cigarettes. And of course, we know that that is not true. They will continue to smoke cigarettes. So these are common ads. Who are they targeting? They're not looking for adults. They're clearly targeting teens. And yet it's legal to market this way. And these are the juices, the flavors. Look at the bright colors. Look at the types. It's very much mimicking certain things that you can buy. Pebs is like Pebbles ice, Pebbles cereal. All these different colors and flavors. They're not appealing to adults. They are appealing to teens. So how did teens get Jewel pods? Well, they sell them in physical retail locations who may not always check for the correct age. They get it from friends, older siblings. They can buy them off the internet, believe it or not, and have it delivered straight to their front door, or better yet, to their friend's front door, because their parents are onto them, but the friend's parents aren't. So just be aware that they're very accessible to teens. So what can happen besides what we talked about? Well, it's a lung disease, it can cause lung problems like pneumonia, asthma, cardiovascular disease, skin disorders like contact dermatitis, oral health, so anything related to dentistry, mucal lesions, disorientation, seizures, hypotension, and others. And then we ask them, do you know what secondhand exposure is? And most of them know that secondhand smoke is if you were in my presence and I was smoking, but you were not, you would be inhaling the air that I am breathing out. So that's secondhand exposure. Most people don't know what third-hand exposure is. So let's say that I smoke in my house. You come to visit me. You're inhaling the air that could be in my drapes, in my couch, in my carpeting. It's in the atmosphere. And even though at that time none of us are smoking, you're getting third-hand exposure. So teens are also, young people who vape are also at higher risk of getting COVID. As we know, all of us are at risk of getting COVID. But it is a lung disease and it can compromise a person's health. So obviously it puts a person at a higher risk. Okay, so this is a video. I don't know if that'll work. We can try it. Okay, maybe not. That's okay. So this is a video of a news station right at the beginning of the school year where they talked about how challenging things have been for teens because of COVID, and then how vaping is still on the horizon. So people would be vaping at home, even though they might have been homeschooling. And they talked about how, people handle stress in different ways. And this is one way that teens would handle stress is by vaping. So the culprit they have determined is vitamin E acetate. That is the name of the problem that is causing these outbreaks, these lung injuries. So they've tested it in the it's been tested by the FDA and by laboratories, and what they're finding is people who vape have these in their lungs, and people who do not vape do not have it in their lungs. So vitamin E, it sounds safe, right? Vitamin, but this is the problem. It's harmful if it's inhaled. It's safe if it's a supplement or safe on the skin, but not if it's inhaled into the lungs. And EVALI is the name of the lung disease. So this young man, there'll be a video next, but it likely won't play. So let me tell you about this young man. This is a Good Morning America show where he and his mother were interviewed. They do not say this, but I'm telling you that this young man is from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and the hospital that he went to for a double lung transplant is Henry Ford, Detroit, the main hospital of Henry Ford. So what happened is this young man who was an athlete, he started vaping, just as his friends did, no more, no less than them. But for some unknown reason, it created some severe pulmonary problems for him. So he was on the verge of death when he had a double lung transplant. So it was successful. It was the first one in the country, by the way, for vaping, because of vaping. He was 15 years old, and he survived. He started a foundation where he now educates teens on vaping. The video shows that there's like 20 medications that he has to take every day. His goal in life was to become a Navy SEAL. He will never achieve that goal. They showed a picture of him, waist up without any shirt on, and it showed how he lost a significant amount of weight and the scars on his body because of the lung transplant. They showed him with a physical therapist walking upstairs as he was recovering. And his mother was aware, his mother suspected he was vaping. She asked him, he said no. And on the way to the hospital, when he was having trouble breathing, she asked him, are we still going with the story that you're not vaping? And he said, no, that's not true, I am. So that's his story. So this is interesting too, he has an identical twin brother, and the brother who saw what he went through also vaped and didn't quit. Okay, that's the teen brain saying, this isn't going to happen to me. And in most cases, it's true. Not every teen needs a double lung transplant, but it can happen. And it did to this young man. His name is Daniel. So you might have heard the term popcorn lung. And where this came from, it came from a microwave popcorn factory where the people who worked there 40 hours a week, every week, all developed the same lung disease. And that's how it got its name, popcorn lung, and it's from diacetyl. Diacetyl is a chemical that is in the buttery flavor. Now, for us to make microwave popcorn at home, it is safe. Okay, it is safe. We will not have a problem. But we're not inhaling this 40 hours a week, every week. So it's harmful for the lungs when it's inhaled at that level. So you'll see that the difference between the two lungs, and it almost looks like popcorn on the right side of the second one. So what else can happen? Explosions. What you're looking at is the front seat of a car. Okay, obviously a vape exploded. Charger explosions. Once in a while, you'll hear about someone who has a vape in the front pocket of their jeans and it explodes. It can cause fires and poisoning. And if you take a walk in most neighborhoods, you're going to see the hazardous waste and litter. People, toss them out when they're done using them, when they get old. So we're not going to talk about marijuana today, but just so you know that you can vape marijuana products. So we will talk about that when we talk about marijuana. And you can pass that as well. So what we want to teach kids is refusal skills, ways of saying no, not just to using substances, but how to get out of any uncomfortable situation. So one is say no like you mean it with good eye contact and a firm voice. Another is to walk away. You're less likely to get pressured into something if you walk away. Avoiding situations where people use. So if everyone knows that everyone's going over to Tony's house after school today to get high, if I avoid the situation and I don't go, I will not be tempted. Using humor. If someone has a funny personality, a funny sense of humor, making a joke out of it to say no to their friends. Changing the subject. So if you ask me to use with you, I could ask you, where are you going on spring break? How's your new dog? What'd you get on your math test? Many people use because they're bored. There's nothing else to do. So having a better idea, which could be as simple as let's go walk my dog, let's go to the park, let's watch a movie. Making an excuse is something that they need to learn to do, but not often. So if I don't want to go with you after school today to use, then my excuse might be that I have a dentist appointment, but I can't have a dentist appointment every day. So that's used, very infrequently. Every teen has an authority figure in their life, whether it's a parent or guardian, a coach, a principal. So blaming them. If I did that, my parents won't let me get a license. My coach will kick me off the team. The principal will suspend me. Another one's give a reason why you can't use. The reason could be I don't do that anymore. But a reason could be I'm on medication. I can't mix it with that stuff. I'm having some health problems. I'm training for a marathon. There's all different reasons. And using flattery as a compliment. I can't believe you'd want to hurt your lungs with that stuff. You're such a great athlete. Or I can't believe you'd want to fry your brain cells. You're so smart. So using flattery as a compliment. So we remind the teens that they can use any one of these refusal skills and sometimes more than one because they'll continue to be pressured. And if someone continues to pressure them, they can always say, I've told you no many times. Why do you keep asking? So in other words, putting them on the defensive. So some people can't stop quitting on their own. So we encourage them to contact their pediatrician or family doctor to discuss treatment options. And there's a couple different options. One is the nicotine patch. One is medication. And another is gum. Okay, gum like Nicorette gum that has nicotine in it. And what it does is they will decrease the amount of nicotine in these products to help people to stop using. And when we were young, you might have heard never stop quitting. So many people, it takes many, many times to quit because this is highly addictive, but eventually if you don't quitting, you can stop. Now, what if you're addicted to marijuana and you can't stop? Well, then you need professional help from an addiction treatment program. That's information on our local program, but of course, all over the state, there's substance abuse treatment programs. And people who do not have insurance, wherever they live in the state, if they're on Medicaid or they're indigent, their local community mental health organization has a pool of money available to help people get treatment if they can't afford it. So there is no reason why a person who's addicted can't get help. And then there's some online resources. Kids are very techie these days. So what we do is we hand out a resource sheet with all this information for them. There's like 3 different programs that we encourage them to think about. And here's one, My Life, My Quit. And the Truth Initiative, This Is Quitting. So, and that one has a parent component as well. And then the consequences. So a first violation in Michigan's $100 fine, a second's $500, and the third is $2,500 or more. So it is illegal to purchase, attempt to purchase, or possess tobacco or tobacco products. So here's the interesting thing. The law is kind of strange. Michigan law says 18, federal law says 21. So it's up to each police agency to determine if they're going to enforce this. But there's always school-related consequences. Hopefully the parents have consequences and there's peer consequences as well. So in our local community, if someone gets caught again, they will no longer be referred to an educational class. What they will do is they will be referred to Oakland County Youth Assistance, which is a juvenile diversionary program. They want to keep kids out of the criminal justice system. So there will be a caseworker who provides counseling, referrals, education, and monitoring, meaning drug testing. They will get suspended from school, and that will go on their permanent record. And if they continue to violate, they'll be referred to the juvenile court system, which is what we're trying to avoid. So with that, any comments or questions?
Great presentation, a lot of really good information. I'm sorry I wasn't able to play the video, but
That's okay. That's okay. It's not like I haven't had my own technology problems.
But I just was so totally unaware of some of the things that were in, the juices of vaping. It would explain why the cloud or the exhale vapor is so thick,
Okay, so it depends on the product. Some have no cloud. Okay, if there's
Really?
a cloud, then they're vaping. And sometimes it's cool for them, the way they exhale and they breathe it out, you can make the cloud look really clever and like design. But a child who's going to use, for example, at home in front of their parents or in a classroom, they're not going to have the type of vape that creates a cloud because they don't want to be detected.
Oh, wow. I thought all of them emitted a cloud. I didn't know some of them were cloudless.
Nope.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, again, that was really, really good information. Do you guys have any questions or comments? Jamie says, thank you. Such great information. Anybody else? All right, then we will wrap this up. Thanks again, Lisa. It was an excellent presentation. We will see you next time. And everybody have a great day.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.